Welcome to the deep dive. You sent us a stack of material on, well, a truly unique figure.
And we are here to give you that ultimate shortcut to being well-informed.
Today, we're dissecting a career trajectory that it almost defies logic. We're talking about the rapid, intense, and dramatically successful pivot of the French cultural icon Tabatha Cash.
Or Céline Barbe, which was her birth name. And this is more than just a biography. It's really a study in strategic reinvention.
So what's our mission here? What have we synthesized?
We pulled from everything: biographical records, Wikipedia popularity metrics, specialized articles on French media. The goal is to trace how she went from this supernova of fame in her teens to becoming the editor-in-chief of the very media ecosystem that launched her.
And the sources, they waste absolutely no time getting to her motivation for that first leap into the public eye.
No, it's laid out pretty clearly.
It wasn't about art, it was famously simple. She had this quote in the early 90s.
I know the one.
Money makes a clean slate of all other considerations.
I mean, that's it right there. That is the attitude of pure, unapologetic drive. It just perfectly sets the stage for the intensity that followed.
Absolutely. That drive translated into immediate action. She left school in Paris at, what, 15?
15. And entered the adult film industry in 1992. But here's the first fascinating conflict in the data we found. It really speaks to the sheer velocity of her impact.
Okay, let's unpack these numbers, because they do seem almost contradictory at first glance.
They really are. Some biographical notes suggest her actual intense performing career spanned only about 2 years.
Just 2 years, 92 to 94.
That's what one set of sources says. And in that incredibly brief window, she's credited with filming around 50 videos.
50.
But then you have other records that suggest she appeared in over 90 adult films and didn't officially retire until 2001.
Wait, so 2 years versus almost a decade, that's a huge discrepancy.
It is. But what it tells us is that the impact, the real fame, was probably cemented in that initial explosive burst.
50 videos in 2 years is an extreme pace. I mean, was the sheer quantity the key here? Or did that risk, cheapening the brand?
That's the thing. It wasn't just the quantity. It was the quality of the projects she chose. She achieved maximum recognition, immediately. The sources all point to her success at the Hot Door Awards.
Right. Which, for anyone listening who isn't familiar, that's basically the highest honor in the European adult film world.
It's the equivalent of the AVN Awards in the U.S., yeah. A very big deal.
And her rise was instantaneous. 1993, she wins the Hot Door for Best European Starlet.
But here's where that ambition really shines. She didn't rest. The very next year, 1994, she wins again.
For Best European Actress.
Exactly. To go from newcomer starlet to Best Actress in 2 consecutive years, and to do it all before she even turned 20, that shows a level of dominance that few ever attain.
So the fame was really secured in those 2 years, regardless of how long she technically stayed in the industry.
That seems to be the consensus. And just as quickly as that phase peaked, it ended. We see evidence from industry databases, like the IAFD, suggesting her final performance was right around 1994.
Her last notable film was Les Visiteurs, right? The parody of that huge French comedy, Les Visiteurs.
And that film, which kind of bridged the adult world with mainstream French culture, is the perfect transition point, because she was already leveraging her notoriety into some very surprising mainstream appearances.
She was not confined to her initial genre. This is where it gets really interesting.
Not at all. Her face became instantly recognizable and apparently very acceptable to mainstream editors.
She landed a starring role in the mainstream movie Rai,
playing the central female character, a young Algerian woman, which you have to admit is a massive cultural jump.
a remarkable crossover, especially for France in the 1990s. And it didn't stop with film. She immediately leveraged that into high-profile modeling.
Yeah, we're talking about the covers of major high-fashion magazines, Elle, Cosmopolitan, Glamour, and even GQ.
That is such a fascinating cultural contradiction. It really speaks to her unique persona that she could win a Best European Actress award while simultaneously being on the cover of Elle.
She was a cultural magnet. The sources even mentioned she was featured prominently in the 1995 calendar for the magazine Max.
She was everywhere. But the transition to broadcasting, that wasn't quite as smooth.
No. The sources show there were definitely some bumps in the road there. She hosted a show on Skyrock Radio.
A major youth-focused French network.
Right. The show was called Two Bib and Tabatha. And this is a kind of funny detail from the sources.
Oh, yeah.
It says the show was, and I quote, buried after a month by a massive competitor on fun radio.
So radio was a bit of a stumble for the fledgling media mogul.
A definite stumble, but she kept moving. She appeared on French national television, Canal Plus A, which is a premium, high-profile channel.
And she was on a show called C'est pas de ton heure. Doing what, exactly?
She had this bizarre hidden camera sequence called Lying Down, where she basically stalked and interacted with passersby.
A segment called Lying Down on national television is certainly a choice. But she did return to TV later.
She hosted a talk show about sexuality, Dorsal TV.
Yeah.
It's a career just built on constant presence, even if the vehicle changed from high fashion to, well, bizarre hidden camera segments.
Okay, so if we connect this to the bigger picture, the mid-90s mark a massive pivot in her personal life, a shift away from that high-octane performance schedule.
She seemed to be seeking stability. At age 20, around 1993, she married Frank Varden.
And he was the editor and owner of the media group Hot Video, so she was marrying into the business side of the world she was leaving.
In a way, yes. And she stepped away from performing to be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
Critically, she left France entirely and moved to Florida.
Creating a complete geographical and vocational break from that initial chaos.
And as we trace her timeline, we do have to impartially note a historical detail captured in the source material.
Okay.
In the 90s, she was romantically involved with a man named Serge Ayoub, who is identified in the sources as a far-right political activist.
Right, and we're just reporting this connection factually as part of the public record surrounding her life at that time.
Exactly.
Now, here's where we get some analytical insight that really links her public performance to her private life. The sources mention external analysis that categorized her public persona.
Yeah, using psychological metrics. Analysts pegged her as an ISFJ personality type.
And an Enneagram type 3W4. What does that tell us?
Well, the ISFJ type is often called the defender. He suggests someone who is patient, has a strong sense of duty, and takes commitments very seriously. They value stability.
Okay, that perfectly underpins her later transition to management.
It does. And the Enneagram type 3W4 suggests she strives to be seen as unique and authentic.
So that need for unique recognition was satisfied by performance in her teens, but later it needed a different outlet.
Precisely. The need for influence shifts from being the face on the cover to being the mind behind the business, which brings us to the event that defined her non-performing life, the 2014 business pivot.
This is where the personal and the professional just violently converge. Her husband, Frank Varden, the owner of the Hot Video Group, died suddenly in January 2014.
And tragedy became the catalyst for opportunity. Just 6 months later, in July 2014, Tabatha Cash, who had been out of the limelight for decades, she resurfaces.
But not to perform.
Not to perform. She returned to command.
She took control, assumed leadership of the entire Hot Video Group and its 5 operational branches.
Everything. The magazine, the media distribution. This wasn't just inheriting a publication. This was taking the helm of an entire media ecosystem. She is now the editor-in-chief of Hot Video magazine.
And the way she announced this transition, it was a masterful piece of PR.
Oh, it was brilliant. It was done through a contest in the magazine that culminated in a cover spread.
And an article announcing its new editor, the former starlet herself.
The narrative closes perfectly.
The young woman who pursued money as a clean slate became the executive who controlled the source of that money. It's an incredible business move. And she is, to this day, a household name in France.
And that entrepreneurial drive was always there. Even after retiring from performing, she founded her own photography studio.
Right, and she ventured into fashion design, creating her own clothing line.
She also authored books, including her autobiography, Mon Carnet Secret, chronicling her life in the industry. She has always actively controlled her own narrative.
And to quantify that enduring impact, we can look at the ranking data.
Even with that short performing career, she's ranked as the 7th most popular French pornographic actor according to the Pantheon data.
And 183rd among all pornographic actors in the general Wikipedia Popularity Index. That fame she secured in 2 years proved to be incredibly durable.
It really did.
So, to synthesize this journey, it was a lightning-fast, 2-year burst of performance that created decades of fame. But her real lasting power came from fulfilling that deep-seated need for duty and control as the manager of the entire business.
Which leaves an important question for you, the listener. We started with her motivation. Money makes a clean slate. So now that she manages all 5 branches and the magazine, which role do you think required a greater test of will and skill?
Achieving that global, instantaneous notoriety in her public-facing role.
or successfully managing the complexity of the entire business structure years later, after stepping away from the spotlight.
It makes you wonder what true influence really means in the media world. Is it the spectacular face, or is it the enduring power behind the curtain?
Something to think about.
Go explore those complexities of media ownership versus performance influence further. That's all the time we have for this deep dive.